Go ahead and get started with the invocation.
She can get her, Facebook and all that stuff. Look at the little brown.
Let us pray, if you don't mind. Let's pray. Father, we are so grateful for today, for tonight, for the opportunity to gather together. I pray, God, for our city officials, that you would give them discernment and clarity and wisdom to guide the steps of everything that will go on tonight, especially to further the betterment of our community. I pray for all of those who will speak, God, that you'll give them, that you'll guide their voices as well as their hearts and their heads, that everything tonight will be done in order and to bring honor and glory to you and to our land. I thank you for still living in a land where we can pray. And God, may you bless this night, may you bless these people, and may you bless our city. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. As many of you are probably also aware, there was a policeman who was shot up in Lake County, Illinois today. I would like to take a moment of silence for us to pray for our own police and fire department and our EMS workers here in the city of Erlanger. Let's pray. Let's take a moment just of silence to pray for their safety. All right, thank you. I now call to order the September 1st, 2015 regular meeting of City Council. Let's start by pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mrs. Hoffman, can you please take roll call?
Mr. Meyer.
Here.
Mr. Burke.
Here.
Mr. Dunhoff.
Here.
Ms. Skidmore. Here. Ms. Sudkamp. Ms. Pitts.
Here.
Ms. Kyle.
Here.
Ms. Cahill.
Here.
Mr. Cahill.
Here.
Mr. Skidmore.
Here.
Mr. Blankenship.
Here.
Mr. Howard.
Here.
Looks like we have a quorum. You received a copy of the minutes for the August 4th, 2015 regular council meeting and the August 18th, 2015 special council meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to be made at this time? Ms. Kyle?
Yes, I would like to make a motion to add my comments from the last committee meeting to the special council meeting on August 18th, 2015.
Just ask for a second. All right, can we get a second? Second by Mr. Blankenship. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Sure. Now, I did have a conversation with Mrs. Kyle regarding those comments, that she was mistaken. She had mentioned that I had sent a letter to the Tea Party informing them of the proposed tax rate, and she was misunderstood there. I did not send a letter to the Tea Party regarding that. So I would like that to be added to the record as well. Does anybody have a problem with that? Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second? Second. All right. Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right, so moving on, then we have the approval of the agenda. You received a copy of the agenda for the September 1st regular council meeting. Are there any additions to be made at this time? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion that the agenda be adopted as presented. Moved by Mr. Dunhoff, second by Ms. Kyle. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right, special presentations. First off, we've got Mr. Brian Collins, the owner of the Cherry Hill Swim Club here this evening. Come forward, thanks. Welcome, yeah.
First of all, thank you for inviting me back again. I think I was here 5 or 6 years ago, and I am an Erlangerite down to the core. I live in Fort Mitchell now, but my heart is in Erlanger. And it's good to see so many friends here. Growing up in Cherry Hill, which you could write a book about already, but it's so good to see John Dunhoff, who I played backyard football against, and he was the line against a little skinny swimmer, so that was not fun. And seeing my good friend Jim Viox, who threw my 6'6" brother into the pool in 1962, if you recall that, Jim. So he's got some history there, and I think this is Bill Howard from Cherry Hill.
Not that one.
Not that Bill Howard?
Not that Bill Howard.
Different Bill Howard, okay. I was wondering, because it's been about 50 years or so. But anyway, I was asked to come here to speak a little bit about Cherry Hill. As I said, my wife Vicki and I live in Fort Mitchell, and thinking that I would end up owning the pool that I swam in 1961, the first day that it opened up when Gordon Martin built it and half of Cherry Hill was built, I thought that would never be the case. My background is I worked at Procter & Gamble. I own a warehousing company that my son now runs for me. We control about 1 million square foot, mostly in the Cincinnati area, a little bit in Florence. Vicki and I own the Cincinnati Dinner Train, and we also own the Cincinnati Railway up in Lebanon, Ohio, that does the Thomas Day Out with Thomas and Polar Express and all that. And we've got private rail cars that do trips behind Amtrak all over the country. So we're doing charters with those private rail cars. So the last thing I needed in 2006 was to own a swim club that lost money. But nevertheless, I was cruising around one day and I said, I'll go over by Cherry Hill and look at my old house. I did. And I said, oh, it's summertime. I was a swimmer. Cherry Hill Swim Club made me who I am. I went to college on a swimming scholarship to Western Kentucky. So I thought I'd go see my birthplace of the pool. Weeds were this high, trees were coming up through the deck, trees were coming up through the inside of the tank of the pool. It had been abandoned for 3 years because the YMCA had had it donated to them by Gordon Martin when Gordon was about to pass. The diocese, who was our next door neighbor, did not want it at the time, so he gifted it to the Y. The Y put about $150,000 into it, put all new stainless steel gutters and filtration in it, which is, if they had not done that, I would not have bought it. But then they abandoned it when the R.C. Durr Y opened, and they tried to make it a day pool for inner city youth, and they thought that the people of Cherry Hill would still join it. They didn't, so it was abandoned from about 2002, 3, 4, and 5. Kids had gotten to it, glass everywhere, paintballs on the building. It was in bad shape. And I told my wife, I said, somebody's got to do something about this. This is my heritage. Little did I know it would be me. So I started in negotiations with the YMCA, and they started here, and I started here, and they came to here, and I went to there, and they came to here, and I went to there. Bottom line, I got it at a steal. Thought that I would put maybe $125,000 into it. $250,000 later, it's done. But it is better than it was in 1961. All new, everything is at the pool. So my agenda was, or my pro forma was, after 3 years, it should at least be breaking even. Well, that was 9 years ago, and Vicki and I still supplement it every year. But what do? You can't walk away from it at this point. You want to keep trudging forward. And we've analyzed why. We got a boost when Triple E went away, and we got a lot of those members that came to Cherry Hill at that point. But with all swim clubs, the kids get older, their priorities change, they decide to do other things, the parents don't want to join again. We don't even require bonds, so all they have to do is just pay a summer membership. Silver Lake opening up did not help, and what we get now is members that join and love it, because you walk in, everyone knows your name, we say hi to them by name, we have fun activities, swim lessons, swim team, water aerobics, all those type of things. But it's the adults that like it. We like it because it's nice and quiet and there's not a lot of kids around. Well, that doesn't help us. We need the families that come to get our membership to a level to where it's at least a break even, which is what the pro forma called for back when we put as much money into it as we did. We don't compete with Silver Lake. We are not anything like a Silver Lake, nor are they like us. We're a private little quiet country club where you can really control the kids and watch what they're doing and be safe. And it's not a circus atmosphere with 500 people screaming and running around with water slides and all that. That's not us. If you ever come there, you'll see what I mean when you walk in. We just hosted the champ meet for the NKSL and had over 1,000 people there. Thank God for the parking lot at St. Henry. If we didn't have that and the path coming through, we'd have never parked them in Cherry Hill subdivision. But we pulled it off. And everyone who walked in the gate, I would stand there and listen. They would just be in amazement. Oh, I remember this place 20 years ago. Oh my God, look how nice it is. So the potential is there. It's a failure on marketing to get the right people. So one of our members requested that, he loves it there, and requested that I come here and speak, because we would love to partner with Erlanger. This is our home base. This is where we need to be tapping our sources, because what we find is the kids that are there, the parents love it, but the next year they don't join, and we call them, why? Was there something wrong? Was the pool not clean? Or no, it's spotless. We loved it, but little Janie or little Susie want to go to the swim club where all their friends are, where they go to school. So they go to a Brookwood or a Bluegrass or whatever. We need to really hit the Erlanger school system more and the St. Henry school system. That's our core. And then once they start coming and all the kids come and, their friends are here from their class, I think it'll just start going like that, and we'll finally get to the 150 members, which is where we want to cut it off. So we would be very interested in having Erlanger Days, early in June, some type of, I think through your recreation department. I think we tried that one time several years ago, but we'd like to do that again. Some teen type of thing, open to the families of Erlanger. We're open to anything to work on with whoever you assign to try to build membership at that pool and keep it going. It's not going to shut down. We've got too much invested at this point. We enjoy doing it. It's a lost leader. But after a while, you'd kind of like that lost leader to not be a lost leader, to at least break even. So we'll continue to trudge at it, and it's in the better shape than it's ever been, so there's nothing that's going to come up and surprise us. We're working with the diocese now to get zero variance clearance to put up another building, to basically duplicate the building that's there and make it another duplex that will help with the cash flow. But I'm really landlocked right there on the land. The diocese owns right up to our fence line. So it is what it is, and Cherry Hill is what it is. It's changed. I naively thought that we would duplicate what Cherry Hill was in the 1960s, and that was an unrealistic goal, because it's just not the same, and all of our lifestyles are not the same anymore. It's quite different. So if you've not been there, I encourage you to come and check it out. In June, we might have open, just try it out weekends or something like that, and just come. If the parking lot's full, park at St. Henry, walk down the path. But I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. It's really a nice, clean, safe facility. But it is in Boone County. So I fight that all the time. Who do I call the police? But it's right inside Boone County, but it's still controlled in an Erlanger proper. And again, my thanks to my friends on here. Mr. Viox helped me when I first bought it to do a lot of surveying. And I'll never forget, I told him I bought that. He said, "Who built that?" And I said, "Gordon Martin." He said, "Oh my God," because there was some strange line things done back in those days, but he worked it out and helped us get everything surveyed. But again, thank you all for the opportunity, and I am all ears when it comes to working with somebody from the Recreation Department to build our membership with our core city, which is Erlanger.
Thank you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Mr. Collins, do you have a card with you? Or
You should say that.
I think the person on our side to connect with, I believe, would be Kim Woking.
I talked to him before.
Okay, good.
This is my card, and we always get asked a lot about the dinner train, so there's some dinner train brochures.
Okay, great.
If you want to share it.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, John. Any questions? I'm sorry, I didn't open that up. Okay.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. All right, the next up on the agenda is our service award recipients. Captain Robinson.
Eric, you want to step up here? Unfortunately, Chief Whitaker can't be here this evening, so he gave me a prepared statement to read to everybody. We know how he is. Eric McDonald began his fire service career with our department as a volunteer in 2010. He was hired as a part-time employee in 2012, followed by his transition to full-time in 2014. We are very pleased to have taken him from his previous full-time paramedic position at Walton Fire District, as he is a valuable asset for our department. Eric is one of our in-house motorheads. With this title comes responsibility of small repairs and handyman duties around the firehouse. I know he is continuing these handyman duties at the house in which he and his wife Stephanie share. And Stephanie is hiding back there. Eric, I'm sorry I cannot be present this evening to share in your award, but I want to thank you for your service to the Erlanger community. Congratulations on your 5-year service.
Thank you, Captain, and thank you, Eric. All right, next up on the agenda is the mayor's report. I wanted to just start real quickly. I wasn't sure if everybody had seen this Kentucky City magazine. Oh, shoot, I just pulled my place marker out. This is a magazine that we get here. In Kentucky City, there's an article here on Erlanger. So I'm proud to say that Erlanger made it to the Kentucky City magazine. It's regarding Erlanger's annual government day that we had. So kind of cool. Check it out if you get a chance. Yeah, thanks for getting it in there. I wanted to take a moment to thank this council, our previous council and administration, for the hard work that has led the city to the point where we are able to offer some tax relief to our citizens. I especially want to thank Mr. Mark Fields, Mr. Greg Engelman, Missy Andrus, and the city staff for their tireless efforts. Fantastic stewardship for the city. I hope the economy will continue to grow in Erlanger. I hope we are able to continue to promote the efficiency that has led to that could lead to continued tax decreases for our city in the next few years. This is a tough road, but as my dad always told me, nothing worthwhile comes easy. I look forward to increasing communication with this council, working together for the good of the people of Erlanger. Earlier today, I stopped by to see Allison Hornback. This is unrelated. She is an agent from State Farm, one of our newest businesses in the city of Erlanger. Stop by and see her on Dixie Highway, right across from Swan Floral. And as most of you are aware, tomorrow morning, Maxim Crane will be lifting our caboose over the Train Depot Museum and onto a truck. That caboose will be taken to Progress Rail in Taylor Mill, and it's going to be restored. Progress Rail is donating that restoration completely. We're very thankful for them to do that, and it should be quite an exciting thing to see. Once-in-a-lifetime event. So if you can be out there tomorrow, they're going to begin rigging it at 8:30 tomorrow morning. I hope I'm not stealing anyone else's thunder on that, but I wanted to let everybody know. Also, want to make sure everybody's aware, there are two 9/11 memorial events that are going on 9/11. We've got the Northern Kentucky 9/11 Memorial Dedication. That's in Crescent Springs. A beautiful monument there that's going to be dedicated at 6:30 p.m. And then there's also a memorial event at the Elks Lodge in Florence. That's also at 6 o'clock. So they're conflicting events, but would invite and recommend that we attend at least one of those. Hope to see you guys there. The last order that I have on my mayor's report is the approval of Mr. Wickman's invoice, number 18075. Can I get a motion in a second to approve that? Motion by Mr. Dunhoff, second by Mr. Blankenship. Any discussion?
I do. I didn't have a chance to get my question out to Frank. Frank, just had a question around two items in there around legal research. Only because I guess that's one of the first times that I've seen those in there. And as I understand, only the document review and preparation should be the additional billable items. There was 4 hours related to tax enforcement and collection.
What was the,
There was 4 hours billed towards
okay.
legal research that I didn't think was covered
I see it.
as additional billable hours.
on the first page?
That was, looks like it's related to the tax code enforcement versus the city council attorney.
Are you talking about the legal research rate 2315?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And your question is what?
If that should be a billable item for this invoice, or whether that should be something covered under the code enforcement.
It has nothing to do with code enforcement. That was research that was required to revise our tax ordinance due to statutes that became, pardon me, statutes that became effective on January 1 of this year. So it had nothing to do with codes enforcement. It had everything to do with the preparation of that document.
That was after the document was already prepared?
It
We
was
had a first
before the
reading.
document was
Well, it
prepared.
says 8/23. We had a first reading of that ordinance on 8/18. That's why I was a little confused about that line item.
You're correct that we had first reading of that ordinance. I was evaluating that ordinance to determine if indeed it was correct in regard to terminology. I went back and reviewed the statutes involving what's required in the tax ordinance due to the amendments that occurred in 2014 and became effective in 2015. They are interspersed throughout the statutes. Old statutes are in one chapter, new statutes are in another chapter. I got into looking at all of them, and it took me that long, and I agree that's a long time, but it took me that long to figure out what was the correct language. And I'll be glad to go into details with you about that later on.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. All right, moving on to the agenda here, we've got the reports of committees. First off, we've got public safety. Mrs. Kyle?
Yes, I have one item. The first week of August, CRO Lemming spent on patrol due to department training. 24 walk-in complaints, 1 person fingerprinted, 2 offense reports taken, 6 community details attended, and 20 hours of community-oriented details. Several hours were spent on fleet maintenance, 4 background checks, 3 PD and 1 fire department. Attended highway safety meeting, Kenton County Alliance, Traffic Safety Media Day. Pre-planned several upcoming details, Cincinnati Reds bowling event, Home Depot Safety Fair, Remke Back the Blue event, Railroad Depot Moving Caboose Heritage Days. Assisted on dispatch progress reports, attended the Lloyd High School block party and 2 concerts at Flagship Park. Most of August activities actually didn't get started until the 10th due to scheduling and training. And that's all I have, and Chief Wilson is in the house.
Okay. All right, thank you. Sorry if I missed that. Chief Wilson is in the house? Okay, thank you. All right, next item on the agenda is public safety, fire EMS. Ms. Skidmore, Mr. Meyer?
The Fire and EMS Department had a total of 312 responses for the month. That's 121 fire incidents and 191 EMS dispatches. And I believe, Renee, did you have anything else?
I just want to mention that Lieutenant Rickle is in the house, and he has something he wanted to bring.
All right, great. Thank you. Welcome.
Good evening.
Hello.
The Erlanger Fire Department, as well as the Erlanger professional firefighters, have become aware of the caboose being moved and being restored. It's my understanding that they're still quite a ways away, money-wise. The Erlanger Fire Department volunteers donate, I believe it's $2,500 towards that fund, but they still need more money. So we're going to put on a putting for the caboose at Erlanger Putt Putt. It's going to be the evening of Heritage Day. So you could go to Heritage Day, finish that, go to Erlanger Putt Putt, one of our mainstays. You can actually do a whole sponsorship if you like. It's $50, and it'll appear on our Facebook page as well as at the event to get your business, or it's usually different people in the city. This is the third time that we've put on an event like this. We've had a former Public Works member that had cancer, a former Erlanger dispatcher had cancer, and it's worked out pretty well. So I'll leave some of the sponsorships in the rear of the room, but it is the 20th from 5 p.m. until 8 p.m. Heritage Day is supposed to conclude at 5 p.m. So are there any questions?
Excellent. Wonderful. Thank you for that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we've got Public Works, Mr. Cahill, Mr. Skidmore.
Yeah, we'd just like to say that the Concord Drive resurfacing has been completed, and also Lambda Drive has been completed. Division is about a third of the way through, and Mr. Milliken is in the house.
I have nothing to add.
All right, thank you. Sorry, I was just sitting here looking back to see, do we need to vote on the executive?
We can put that, yeah, that's fine, we can put it in legislation. We'll tack it at the end.
All right. We'll go ahead and put this back into legislation. I've got an executive order here regarding the emergency repair of Lakemont Drive. We'll go ahead, have you seen that, Mr. Cahill?
No, I have not.
Okay. Do what? Yeah, I'll go ahead and.
I'm sure Mr. Viax will present that.
Threw it to me, huh? I brought up at the last regular meeting, I think, that there were some emergency repairs of Lakemont Drive, and we were in the process of working out an arrangement with Michael's Construction Company to do the work. And Mr. Bogart thought that my presentation and that in my report was sufficient to satisfy that emergency. Further consideration, the Public Works Committee feels it's necessary to get this acted on to, in fact, clarify the fact that we're going to have emergency repairs by a contractor.
Does that sound acceptable?
That is acceptable to us. That's a recommendation from the committee.
Wonderful. Okay. Thank you. All right. The next up is administration. Mr. Howard, Ms. Cahill.
Yes, Mayor. We've got 4 items on our agenda as far as reports are concerned. The first one is the tax rates that we voted on. It's coming up for second reading tonight at lowering setting our tax rate at $0.347 for each $100, and the personal property and motor vehicles at $0.5990 for $100, and that's up for second reading tonight. So make council aware of that. Secondly, is the year-end report that Mark Fields presented to us on the 18th, and every member of council should have got a copy of that. And it's also on our website, so if anybody wants to take a peek at it, please feel free to. It's there. So Becky took care of that as well. Also got municipal orders coming up for read tonight on the codification from American Legal to recodify our ordinances. And I believe if there's any question about that, that will be up for reading tonight for municipal order. So, and finally, on my end is a report on the railroad overpass that we talked about last week, and Jim's working with that to work with the state and begin the thought process and hopefully the beginning process of getting that railroad overpass fixed. So we're looking forward to what lies ahead for that. So, and I'll just report progress there on that report. So, and I will turn it over to Kathy.
I have some important dates. We need to get a motion be made for a date and time for trick-or-treating in Erlanger, so the information can be provided in the city's newsletter on our Facebook page and website. Previously, trick-or-treating has occurred on the October the 31st, and it's between 6 and 8 p.m., and this year, October the 31st comes on a Saturday, so we need to just have a motion to go ahead and get this published so everybody knows when our trick-or-treating hours and days and times are. And then,
do we make a motion now, or?
yes.
Sure.
Yes.
Make a motion.
Okay, got a motion by Mrs. Kyle, or excuse me, by Mrs. Pitts. Second by Mrs. Kyle. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
And then the general government offices will be closed on September the 7th in observance of Labor Day, so that everybody's aware that that's a Monday. And then the upcoming event is the 24th Annual Heritage Day Celebration, which is Sunday, September the 20th, from 1 to 5 p.m. at the Depot Museum Park at 3313 Crescent Avenue. And hopefully, if you attend that, then you will go to the fire department's putt-putt from the 5 to 8. And then would like to thank Kim Walking. This is her first year of doing the Summer Parks program. She had a lot of new ideas, a lot of the concerts and then the circus and just different events that she held, and what a great job she did. And I heard that the campout was awesome too.
It was great.
To thank her for all the effort she put in such a short amount of time.
Yeah, great.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Missy Andrews is in the house. Missy?
All right, thank you, Missy. Thank you. Had a full plate there. Thank you. All right, fifth up is our Economic Development and Finance. Mr. Blankenship, Ms. Pitts.
The staff is going to finish closing the books tomorrow for the fiscal year ending June 30th of 2015. The auditors are scheduled to be on site next Tuesday, September the 8th. We should have preliminary unaudited financial statements for 2015 fiscal year ready for distribution early next week. When that's completed, the staff will begin work on the July financial statements. The training for Steve Bodie and Shannon McCauley is proceeding and going well. Both are learning a great deal and getting more comfortable with their new duties on a daily basis.
I'd also, since I'm on the Finance Committee, I wanted to take this opportunity to make some comments about our vote tonight for the tax rates. The mayor touched on this a little bit on his mayor's report, and I'm just going to elaborate a little on it. As you're well aware, if the vote goes the way I think it will tonight, next year your tax bills will be lower. This is not something we've all of a sudden decided to do. This took years of hard work and planning. In 2009, we, as well as many other cities, were hit hard by the recession. Many of us on council currently, along with past council members, made a very difficult decision. We, for the first time in 17 years, increased the payroll tax by 0.5% to be earmarked for road improvements and other large needed projects. This was not a popular or an easy decision, but it was needed. Each year, things got a little better, and we got through the recession. The last couple of years, we are getting more and more financially sound, so much so that we have not raised your taxes in the last couple of years. In our February 2014 budget meeting, we had some discussion on lowering your real estate taxes that August when it rolled around. It was an election year, it'd keep us in office. We were looking well, but we decided that this was not in the best interest of the city because we had gotten the news that Toyota was leaving. It would be irresponsible of us to lower your taxes last year. We have a lot of new businesses coming in. They've been in the works for a while, some large ones, some smaller ones, but none of those came in as of August, so that's why we did not lower your taxes last year. We did, however, leave them the same. This year, some of the smaller anticipated businesses and some medium-sized ones are starting to come in. We're still waiting on the larger ones. But our reserves are very strong. Some people have said that we are the second highest taxed city in northern Kentucky, and by numbers it may look that way, but this is not so. We have real estate taxes and we have our insurance taxes, which every city in northern Kentucky have. However, we do not have fire district taxes, we do not have road repair taxes, and we do not have park taxes, and some of our surrounding cities do have those. So when you combine that, we are really in the top part of the middle, but we'd like to change that and be further down the middle. You have the best services in Erlanger rolled up into one. Did you know that if you're a resident in Erlanger and you call an ambulance, you will not be charged? If you are in Erlanger and call an ambulance and you're not a resident, it's soft billing. That means we bill the insurance company and you do not pay the balance. My mother lives in a different city and she has called an ambulance 6 times in 2 years. I will be paying on those bills for her for the rest of her life. Anyway, this year we are most likely lowering your taxes for 2016, where most other northern Kentucky cities will be raising theirs. This is because of our top-notch department heads and employees, our CAO, Mark Fields, our current mayor and current council, along with former council members Jim Berger, Shane Longshore, Jim Brown, and former mayor Tom Rouse. This is something that's been in the works, and it's not something you can do overnight, but all were instrumental in the past 6 years and current to get us to this point where we can give our residents the much-deserved break that they deserve. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Pitts. All right.
And Greg Engelman's in the house. Okay.
Mr. Hahn? All right, thank you.
Sorry, Dave.
All right, then the next committee on our agenda is our Codes, Building, and Zoning. Mr. Dunhoff, Mr. Burke.
Okay, at our 9/1/15 council meeting, at the August 6, 2015 Kenton County Planning Commission meeting, the Planning Commission recommended approval of the city's map amendment application to change the zoning of the property at the terminus of Vioxx Drive from HC-2 DP to HC2. If you remember, this request was discussed at the June committee meeting. The reason for this request was to remove the stipulation of the binding development plan agreement that would only allow a new car dealership on this property and further require the building to be located on the property in compliance with that development plan agreement. This development plan was placed on the property when Tom Gill Chevrolet was going to locate on that property. Since Tom Gill did not build on this property, it is causing an undue burden on the current owners of the property. So in agreement, the following, we need to do this. We're going to make a recommendation to have the city attorney prepare the necessary ordinance to agree with the Kenton County Planning Commission's recommendation to change the zone of subject property from HC2 with a development plan to HC2 with no development plan. So that will open that property back open to where we can have something else be built there besides a car dealership. So if we can get Frank, prepare
Yes,
that?
sure.
Okay. The second thing is we need an update everyone did on Tuesday, 9/15, committee meeting, Smith Towing request to add towing facilities as a conditional use to the BP1 zone will take place. So that's that meeting we pushed off, and they had to go and talk to the developer, and then they're coming back now, and they're gonna meet with us on the 15th to let us know what's going on, whether that can be done or not. And Dave Hahn's in the house.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hahn. All right, next up, we've got the Progress and Revitalization Committee. Mrs. Pitts, Mr. Cahill.
You received a report from Ms. Hopkins. She is in the house. Do you have anything to add? Very busy month.
Thank you. You've heard the reports of our committees. Do I entertain a motion that they be adopted as presented? Motion by Ms. Kyle, seconded by Mrs. Skidmore. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next up is the reports of representatives. Are there any reports from the representatives this evening? All right, seeing none, we'll move on. Reports of city operations. City engineer, Mr. Viox. Anything
Yes,
to
sir.
report?
After last meeting, when I reported on the underpass, and I told you that the district engineer, Mr. Rob Hans, had committed to me that he would assist us in the traffic management plan, along with an analysis of the underpass and also possibly with some specifications. So I've asked Mr. Hahn if he will contact Mr. Rob Hans and tell him that it was presented to council that you would like to have him help us with that and get that ball rolling so we don't let it slide too long. I was kind of expecting under Public Works for somebody to ask about the status of the Dixie Highway resurfacing and improvements, but you didn't, so I'll go ahead and say something about it.
Leave something for you.
It did get started, and it is moving forward, but I think they found a lot more repair work than they anticipated, so it's going kind of slow. They actually are doing some curb repair, which wasn't anticipated. They've yet to tackle the problem that I presented to them in the underpass area. I don't know if it's because they're trying to figure out how to manage the traffic themselves, or whether they haven't discovered what all the issues are in that area. But again, as I told you several meetings back, when this was going forward, with most of that work has to happen at nighttime. So I guess their exploration investigation of the issues has been stymied somewhat. So, but it is moving forward, and as far as I know, it's still on schedule. I also heard when the Public Works Committee read the status of Division and Lambda. Lambda is completed, and I understand there's a couple barrels over there, but other than that, it's pretty much completed. I think there's backfill work to do. Division Street is about half completed, and we're trying to manage the traffic over there, but I think each of the council persons received a text message from Rick showing you the pictures of it, and I think if you haven't seen it over there directly, you would recognize on those pictures that it's a great improvement. And in that particular area, the city owns some property over there where there's a house that the city obtained. We're going to re-subdivide that property when the house is removed at the end of this week into 2 lots, and they'll be selling 2 lots on a newly improved street, and we anticipate some considerable interest in that. The only other thing I got to report is the next project probably we're going to bring to council in the next few months is going to be starting to do the replacement of pavement on Riggs Avenue. A couple of years ago, we did the section from Hobart Avenue down to past the Senior Center, and we will be starting from there and going up to about Kirby Court, and then from there on, we'll keep coming up Riggs Avenue until we get it done. Probably after that, it'll be Erlanger Road, all those streets, Mary Street, Hallam Avenue, Erlanger Road, and Riggs Avenue were all done up at the same time in the early 70s, and they've carried a lot more traffic, through traffic, including bus traffic, than ever was anticipated, so they're in need of replacement. That's all I have, sir.
Right, thank you. Next up, we've got the city attorney, Mr. Gatlin.
It's always a tough act to follow.
Yeah.
Mr. Viox always talks about all these good things that are going to happen, roads being improved, progress, and then we go to the attorneys, which 99% of what we do, we can't even talk about in public. So we need to rearrange this, Mayor, on the schedule. We need to have him go last, because he makes us all look bad.
Leave everything on a high note.
That's right, that's right. I actually have nothing to report.
I just said that. That would have been the best news we could have heard.
I can follow that anytime.
City Council Attorney, Mr. Wickman, do you have anything to report?
What the hell am I going to do now?
Put it all on you, Frank.
All right, on your agenda tonight, there's a resolution about the Homeland Security Grant. You recall, that came up at the last meeting. I recommended we postpone that until I could check into the requirement of that resolution involving the Model Procurement Code. On Friday, August the 7th, I talked to the director of the Department of Homeland Security in Kentucky. He informed me that resolution and that language in that resolution was a requirement, an absolute requirement for any grant from the Department of Homeland Security. However, he did say that language does not, and I repeat, does not require the city to adopt the Model Procurement Code. It simply requires the city to follow the procedures in that code when spending the Homeland Security money grants. With that explanation, I was satisfied that we should go ahead and adopt that resolution. Obviously, it's a requirement for the grant. It's not that detrimental to the city, and I recommend that you adopt that resolution. Be glad to answer any questions about it.
All right. Any questions for Mr. Wickman? All right. And then we'll move on to the next report from the city administrator, Mr. Fields.
Thank you. I'd like to ask for a committee meeting on the 15th of September to discuss developing an economic development strategy. David Hahn and Greg Engelman and I have been working along with some grant people that are leading us along a line of developing this strategy along with the Northern Kentucky Area Development District. We need to have a citywide economic development strategy adopted. So we'd like to bring you all up to date on what our progress is on that, so we'd like to have that on the 15th. I don't think the Smith towing one will last too long. Besides that, I don't think there's anything else for that one.
All right. We'll get it on the agenda.
On the other thing, I wanted to follow up with what Mr. Viock said about Dixie Highway. The email we got today said they were going to be starting on the underpass, I believe, on the 8th. So what they're going to be doing is all the work that Mr. Viock was talking about underneath that underpass and the drains and things. So be aware that traffic is going to be detoured. Now, we're not sure exactly what that's going to be, but be aware of it. And if you can stay off of Dixie Highway while they're doing the underpass, that would be a great thing. But just expect some long delays probably if you're traveling there during rush hour and they close down part of that, because they cannot work underneath that underpass without closing some of those lanes. So just be aware of that when you go. That's it.
All right. Thank you.
Will there be somebody there, like last time in a cruiser? Or?
I believe there's going to have to be. Their traffic plan is going to have to do that. So.
I wouldn't be surprised if we don't have to assist them with police service.
Yes.
Right.
But it's going to be a mess any way we look at it, so, until they get done with that part. Yeah. But it'll be worth it at the end. That's the thing we have to remember.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
Okay, with that then, you've heard the reports of the representatives and city operations. Do I entertain a motion that we adopt as presented? Motion by Mrs. Kyle, seconded by Mr. Meyer. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Do I need to be looking over this way more often? Sorry. Yeah, it's hard.
I'm always hidden in the hole.
Yeah. All right, next on the agenda is our correspondence. Mrs. Hoffman, do we have any correspondence this evening?
I do, yes.
Okay, great.
We received a card from Bill and Melissa Howard. It says, "Dear friends of Erlanger, thank you for all the thoughtful ways you give from the heart. It shows in everything you do." And we also received a card from Patty Sedkamp. "To my dear Erlanger family, thank you from the bottom of my heart for my birthday surprise. You made me feel so special."
Oh, that's nice.
And that's all, sir.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Mayor, you
I have
got
some.
one?
Yes, sir.
So I have one to Rick Bogart from the Police Department for Brian Ralston. Mr. Bogart, I want to take a moment to express my appreciation to maintenance technician Brian Ralston of your department. A couple weeks ago, a large steel attachment on the universal machine in the weight room was found to be broken. The metal had begun to break away on both parts adjacent to the weld area. Brian, with his welding experience and background, was able to reform the piece and re-weld the item better than new. His repair more than likely saved the city several $100s that it would have otherwise cost to replace just that part of the item, even if it was even available. Again, please pass on my thanks and appreciation. This is just another example of what a great team we have here at our City of Erlanger and how we work together in accomplishing tasks. Respectfully, Greg Ayler.
Wonderful, thank you. Thanks for sharing that. Any other correspondence? All right, we'll move on to the citizens and public comments. We've got a list of people that are interested in speaking this evening. First off, we've got Mr. James Brown.
Like that haircut.
Nice hairdo. Hair fell out on the side.
I like Connor's hair, too.
Mr. Mayor, Council, Connor and I are here this evening, and we would just wanted to talk a little bit about the camp out in the park. What a great time was it? What did you have to say when it was mentioned?
The food was great. It was great. It was awesome.
Yes, it was awesome. Kim did a very nice job. We enjoyed the company of the Meyer family and the mayor at the fire late into the evening before we turned in. And we also wanted to say thank you to Public Works, who did a nice job maintaining all our parks, but who, I believe it was Mr. Joe Doherty that was out there that was helping us out as our local guide to the park and helping with the fire and do a great job. So we just wanted to thank everybody and say what a great job Kim did and say thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I don't know if everybody will get an applause tonight. Next up, we've got Mr. Mike Chisenhall. All right, thank you. And we've got Mr. Casey Williams. Welcome.
Maybe I should have gone first. Mine's a downer. Good evening. My name's Casey Williams. I live on LaHinch Lane, which is off of Brightleaf Boulevard, and I'm here with some of my neighbors this evening to discuss some safety concerns that we have and to propose some solutions for your consideration. We have had 3 drug-related instances on our street this summer. One night, someone left a clear plastic bottle with a liquid full of syringes left in one of my neighbor's garbage cans. Another evening, a man was found in a car with 2 teenage boys, all intoxicated, car full of drugs and alcohol. And most recently, a man pulled onto our street with a woman apparently who had overdosed in his car and pulled in to check on her. None of these incidents were committed by our neighbors. And it's worth noting that there are 20 houses on our street and only 1 street light. If you're not familiar with LaHinch Lane, when you pull into the street off of Brightleaf Boulevard, there's kind of a semi cul-de-sac, and then the street dog legs to the left, and then ends in a cul-de-sac, which is where the street light is, all the way at the top of the hill at the end of the street, which makes the bottom of our street very dark and also very easy access with that semi cul-de-sac to get in to whatever you want to in the dark, and then get right out of our street. And incidentally, that's where all of the incidents have happened, is in that lower dark part of the street in the evening. So we think that it could go a long way for the safety of our neighborhood to have a couple more streetlights installed in our neighborhood. The nearest other neighborhood to ours is Brightleaf Estates, where there are streetlights every 3 to 4 homes. So 2 more lights on our street would help to keep our neighborhood just as bright as our nearest neighbor. Also, I've lived on LaHinch Lane for about 2 years, and police presence has been very light, unless they're coming quickly with their lights blaring. So we think it would be great to see an increased police patrol on our street as well. I mentioned we have 20 homes on our street, and there's about 40 children running around our neighborhood at any given time, newborns up to teenagers, running from yard to yard, back and forth across the street, playing. Yet there's no signage at the bottom of the street either that says anything about children playing, or no turnaround, or no through traffic, neighborhood watch, or anything like that. We realize that cars will use that street as a turnaround because it's the first that you come to off of Turkey Foot. But we want to make sure that when cars do pull in there, they know that there's no way to get in, to get out, that you have to go out the way that you came in, and to keep an eye out for all the children that are playing there. So we'd love to see some sort of signage as well that alerts visitors to the type of neighborhood that they're entering. So we're here to let you know our concerns, and we'd like to know that you take the safety of our neighborhood as seriously as we do, and we'd love to know how we can follow up to see if this council has considered any of our proposals. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Williams, before you leave, I would like to introduce you to Chief Wilson, our police chief, and I also would like to introduce you to Mr. Milliken, Ed Milliken, here from Public Works, and we can work on the signage and also the policing, and then we'll have to work more on the street lights.
Okay.
But yeah, I really appreciate you coming out this evening.
Okay, great. Can I speak briefly maybe with each of you at the end of the meeting?
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Kyle? Or Mrs. Skidmore?
It's been several months ago, but we talked about the solar streetlights.
Oh, yeah.
Then we talked about doing that from the library down Hulbert because they were so much more economical, and it was going to be like a pilot program, and we were going to put them other places, and where are we at with that?
Yeah, we did talk about that, and I'm not sure, maybe Mr. Milligan can talk about that, but I will say this, I believe those lights are going to be sidewalk lights, and those lights are just going to be, that for the basic the use of walkways and not, so I'm not so sure they're going to be street lights.
They're not
the
going
kind of
to be big illuminating lights.
Right, so I'm not so sure that would work where you are, but we can work on the street light issue. That's not an issue, but the other ones, I can't give you an update, but you're right, I was down there.
The other ones are more of a pathway light and not
Right.
an actual street.
Right.
Okay, but we still need them.
Still looking into that as well.
Okay. Because I had my person that brought that up ask me again, what's the status?
That's what we were looking at, just so everybody knows what we're talking about. We were looking at maybe going to solar on some of those other kind of lightings on sidewalks and pathways and things like that. I don't think they'll work on the streetlight part of it. As everybody knows, once that streetlight goes up at that cost, then it's our cost forever. And looking at that and doing some things. That's why we were trying to look for some alternative ways of maybe lighting up sidewalks and things like, not streets, but sidewalks and things like that to do it the other way. And we're still exploring those options, obviously, with Public Works. Yeah.
Right.
Can I make one suggestion too?
Yes, please.
In the meantime, what I would do, what our neighborhood does, is at night have everybody leave their porch lights on. It does help. Because, people that are trying to stay in the dark aren't going to be around a house that's lights are on. So just in the meantime, it might help a little bit if you tell your neighbors to do that.
Yeah, I do agree. That does help. We're on Brightleaf, and we're in one of the sections where there's probably 7 or 8 houses between street lights. And those street lights, the type of light that they are, isn't very bright anyhow. And that's what we always leave our front lights on because of that. And I think it definitely helps.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. All right, the next person we have on the list here is Mr. Bill Steimer.
Yeah, my dog. I love my dog.
Dog barks like crazy. She wouldn't do anything.
My name is Bill Steimer. I live at 3426 Misty Creek Drive, and I have been there for the last 2 or 3 or 4 council meetings, but the railroad crossing on Stevenson Road, they've done half of it. When are they gonna do the other half?
We've been told soon.
Told soon, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, they are in the process of working out. There was one other, they're working on leveling the tracks through that area. And they said that there was still one track that they had to address, and for some reason, they weren't able to get it level at that time.
They got those really good crossing arrangements, like they got out on 25 at Industrial Road, just south of Industrial, but you don't even know you're going to cross them. And they got one set of tracks fixed, and they haven't done anything to the other one in the last couple of months, and I was just curious what's happening.
Yeah, the last time I saw it, I saw one half of one side. So if you were heading west on Stevenson, that first half,
Yeah.
that was really nice.
Really nice.
I'm hoping it's all going to
Okay.
be like that.
Okay, it hasn't been forgotten then.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, we are watching that.
The other thing is, what's the update on our dump down on Stevenson Road? The house that, I have seen they've moved some of it out.
There's been some improvements.
It does look a little better, doesn't it?
Huh?
It does look a little better, right?
It does, I went by there
Yeah,
today.
it looks a lot better, but it's got a long way to go, though.
Oh, yeah.
There's
Oh,
only,
yeah, but
there's only like,
Huh?
Still going through the lawsuit.
Yes.
Still, okay, I was just curious.
We're waiting on a court ruling at this time, so as soon as it gets done, we'll be in.
Hopefully that'll be resolved by the end of the year.
All right.
did you hear that? End of the
Thank
year?
you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Steimer. All right, next up, we've got Mr. Brian Smith. All right, thank you, from LaHinch. All right, and then we've got Mrs. Kathy Kroger.
Yes, don't shut me down when I say about pipes in the street. Because I talked to the Rick McGillis, and he gave you guys a budget for emergency, for broken pipes in the street, ladder to the house. Mine has been broken for 2 years. I get sued every day. And I came and talked to you guys, Public Works, about this a year ago. And plus, the road is caving in by the sewer thing. So I think it'd be the number one priority, since the street is caving in. And we got kids that constantly plays on that cul-de-sac. And I'm afraid one of them's gonna get hurt, and you guys are gonna get sued by somebody because you didn't fix that pipe, that manhole that's starting to be created. And I just wonder what you're gonna do about it, because I hate every day, I gotta clean my basement out, I pay taxes. Why is this pipe broken in the street, and I have to pay for this when I pay taxes to get this fixed in the street? If it was in my yard, it'd be my problem, but it's in the street. And Cherry Hill is famous for pipes not working right. And I just wondered, since you got money for pipes, what are you guys going to do about this? Because Cherry Hill residents are getting sick of this. We pay taxes, and our pipes are not getting fixed.
Can I say?
Okay.
Yeah.
And I got this guy's name.
Yes, please give it to us, because I'm going to say this is the first time that I've heard this complaint, and I'm looking back there at Public Works, and he's shaking his head also, so.
Right, yeah, Mr. McGillis is with SD1.
Oh, okay.
That's SD1.
Yeah, so this is, ma'am, I'm going to jump in here for a minute. SD1 has proposed a solution, and they have circulated it to all the cities in Kenton County. I specifically have instructed the mayor to not present that interlocal agreement at this time to council, because there are a number of issues with that interlocal agreement. Does not mean that we're not going to work with SD1 on a solution, but the interlocal agreement as proposed had several issues with it, and we are not the only city that has an issue with that. We've had numerous meetings with other city attorneys, other city managers. It's a little bit bigger issue. So we're well aware of the situation, and I work with Mr. McGillis often with SD1. He's an engineer at SD1. Right. In fact, it's also on the agenda at the mayor's group meeting again in 2 weeks.
Yes.
So who should I call to get this problem
Can somebody call her, keep her updated, or?
Yeah, I think you're in the right place. I'm glad. Do you want to keep that? Yeah. Okay,
Yeah, we know, yeah, we know.
okay.
Yep,
And here, you've got,
sure.
It's sinking and it's gonna cave in, and one of the kids going to get hurt.
Okay.
And you guys gonna have
We,
losses on it.
we will get with Public Works and we will discuss this.
You guys come in the wintertime,
right.
your equipment's gonna be broken.
Yeah, we don't want to see that either. And I don't know if we were aware of
address?
the sinkhole in Redbud, but we'll have someone take a look at it. Yeah. Yeah, we certainly don't want that either, so.
That's what Ed needs to address.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. It's on our radar now, thank you. That's all that I have on the list. Is there anybody else that was interested in getting up and speaking this evening? All right, with that, then we'll move on to the next item in the agenda, and that is our bids. Mrs. Hoffman, Mr. Viox, are there any bids tonight?
No, sir.
All right, move on then to old business. Does anyone have any unfinished business to report? Seeing none, we'll move on. New business, anyone have any new business to discuss? Mr. Meyer?
Mr. Mayor. You know, over the past 6 months with, I guess it's been 8 months now, there's been quite a bunch of conversation around transparency and putting the city staff on, you know, pins and needles. So I was quite disheartened today when I was looking at the invoice from Mr. Wickman around the meetings, a series of meetings, some of which I think were in violation of the open meetings laws, but around investigating city operations. So I was wondering if there's, you know, any update to, you know, what city operations we felt needed to be investigated. It looks like we were flirting.
Mr. Meyer, I hate to stop you at this point, but I think you're delving into attorney-client privilege situations, and I think that you have to be very careful that that privilege goes to the council in their entirety, and that an individual council member cannot waive that privilege, and I'm speaking about attorney-client privilege with Mr. Wickman. So I just think we have to be careful when we start discussing specific meetings with an attorney, that if that is an attorney-client privilege that council in its entirety wishes to waive, they can do that. Otherwise, I hate to jump in here and shut you down. I just think we're getting dangerously close to uncomfortable areas.
So if I was interested in the one piece where the entire police committee was there, I can make an open meetings request for that? Because my understanding, if the entire committee is present, then it is subject to open meetings.
Yeah, and I was not at that meeting,
understand.
but I'm just, my comment is more broad.
Yeah. So I guess my other comment is just that, you know, with these secret type of meetings and the invoice coming out saying there's an investigation or potential investigation of city operations, that just further puts any staff on pins and needles and whatever that may or may not be about. I have no further comments.
All right, thank you, Mr. Meyer. Does anyone care to elaborate on that?
No.
All right. All right, thank you. Is there any other new business to discuss? With that, then we'll move on to legislation. We've got the first ordinance to discuss this evening would be the hospital zoning amendment with Mr. Gatlin.
This is an ordinance amending the Erlanger zoning ordinance, adding hospitals, human care as a permitted use within the HC Highway Commercial Zone, HC2 Highway Commercial 2 Zone, IP1 Industrial Park 1 Zone, and the BP1 Business Park 1 Zone specifically. It is a text amendment allowing for hospitals to be in all of those zones.
All right, do I entertain a motion to adopt the ordinance as read? Motion by Mrs. Kyle, seconded by Mrs. Pitts. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Roll call, sir.
Roll call.
Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me, roll call vote. Thank you.
Ms. Skidmore?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Cahill?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Meyer?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Blankenship,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Howard,
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Pitts,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Cahill,
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Kyle,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Burke,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Dunhoff,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Skidmore.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, motion carried. The next ordinance we have to discuss is regarding the tax rates. Mr. Wickman?
It's an ordinance of the City of Erlanger in Kenton County, Kentucky, providing for the annual assessment of all real estate and personal property within the City of Erlanger that is subject to taxation thereby for the fiscal year beginning on July 1, 2015, ending on June 30th, 2016, and providing for the payment and collection of such taxes, penalties, and interest thereon, describing the purpose for which the taxes so collected shall be appropriated and used. By summary, the ordinance provides for the use of the Kenton County property valuation assessment of all real estate and personal property within the city, levies an ad valorem tax on all real property within the city that's subject to taxation. The real property tax is $0.3470 for each $100 of value. Personal property tax is $0.5990 for each $100 of the value so assessed. Section 3 provides for the procedure for collection, provides that the taxes are due, the discounts for early payment, for penalties and interest for late payment, and the method and place of payment. Section 4 provides that the city has a lien on the property to secure the payment of the taxes. Section 5 provides that the taxes shall be deposited in the general fund and appropriated and used for the general operating expenses.
All right,
Second reading.
all right. Do I entertain a motion to adopt this ordinance as read? Motion by Mr. Burke, seconded by Mrs. Skidmore. Roll call vote, or any discussion? Roll call vote then.
Mr. Skidmore,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Dunhoff,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Burke,
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Kyle,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Cahill,
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Pitts,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Howard,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Blankenship,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Meyer,
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Cahill,
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Skidmore.
Yes, ma'am.
Motion carried. Our next ordinance is the Code of Ordinances. Mr. Wickman?
An ordinance of the City of Erlanger in Kenton County, Kentucky, approving and adopting supplements to the Code of Ordinances of the city. In summary, the ordinance adopts and makes a part of the permanent records of the city the 2015 S21 supplement prepared by the American Legal.
All right, I ask that the Assistant City Clerk note in the minutes that this is the first reading of this ordinance. Next up, we've got a municipal order regarding the American Legal recodification. Mr. Gatlin?
This is a municipal order of the City Council of the City of Erlanger in Kenton County, Kentucky, approving a contract with American Legal Publishing for a recodification of the ordinances of the city. By summary, it has been more than 35 years since the initial codification required by KRS 83060, and I think this council now is well aware of this municipal order.
All right. Do I entertain a motion to adopt this municipal order as read? Motion by Mr. Dunhoff, second by Mrs. Kyle. She's quick on these this evening. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. And the next one is a resolution for the Homeland Security Project, security cameras. Mr. Wickman?
It's a resolution of the City of Erlanger in Kenton County, Kentucky, authorizing the mayor to make application for and upon approval to enter into an agreement with the Kentucky Office of Homeland Security to execute any documents which are deemed necessary by KOHS to facilitate and administer the project and to act as the authorized correspondence for this project. This resolution establishes procurement policy for any KOHS approved project for the fiscal year 2015 application cycle.
All right, do I entertain a motion to adopt this resolution as read? Motion by Mr. Dunhoff, second by Mrs. Kyle. Any discussion?
I have a question
Mr. Meyer?
about just what the project is. I know it says security cameras, but not sure exactly what that means.
They're the other video cameras, the ones we have in the parks and around some other areas of the city. It would be to enhance that program, to put more cameras out in the parks and on our public facilities and places like that.
We're just looking at parks and
Parks and public facilities right now, yes. Is that right, Chief? That's, I think, what the. Right.
Well, one time we were also talking about some key intersections as well. Is this part of that?
That's down the road.
All right, wonderful. Okay. And would this resolution, would signing this resolution just be for the cameras, or would this carry on for any other?
Carries on for all projects.
Any Homeland
for this
Security
fiscal
project
year.
for the, okay.
so any additional projects would not be brought to us then?
No, they would all be brought before we applied, absolutely.
All right. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right, with that, do I entertain a motion that we adjourn? Motion by Mr. Dunhoff, second by Mrs. Kyle. Meeting adjourned.